Hello everyone, thank you for joining me for my presentation today. My name is Catherine Assad and the public health issue I have picked is obesity, and the vulnerable group I have chosen to link this with is refugees. This presentation will include briefly some of the issues refugees encounter, various dimensions of stigma associated with refugees, and how this could influence participation in interventions. Firstly, I'm starting off by outlining some of the issues that refugees face. Every year, over 4,000 people of refugee background settle in Victoria alone. Of these people, most have pre- and post-arrival experiences because of their country of origin that could be negatively affecting them, and also leaving them detrimental effects on their overall health status. For example, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and so on. When coming to a new country, they may often face a culture shock and discomfort, and confusion on the basic norm of living. Possibly being uneducated on the effects of unhealthy food, tobacco, alcohol, and other aspects can create the onset of many conditions. Refugees are commonly diagnosed with chronic diseases such as type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, arthritis, cancer, and so on. The main condition to be focused on is obesity. People from refugee backgrounds may not be familiar with the concept of preventative care. This may be due to living in the environment that they've come from. This is possibly why some refugees are unable to recognize the damaging ripple effect of physical inactivity, lack of sufficient consumption of water, and poor eating habits. Being unaware of the effects of these behaviors have on their health, overweight and obese refugees are on the rise alongside other Australians. An example of preventative care in Australia is the Measure Up, Swap It, Don't Swap It campaign. The stigma associated with refugees may directly impact the likelihood of seeking help for their current state of health. As there are different culturally held attitudes in all cultures, there may be certain misconceptions, resulting in a social isolation. In some cultures, a larger body figure indicates a high status of someone with money, whereas in Australia, for example, this is not the case. Settling into a country where the expected standard body image is slimmer may come as a shock. For example, the stigma associated with obesity, whether it be that other people will think you're a bad parent for having overweight children, or that you are an uneducated refugee because you are overweight or obese yourself, will directly influence the decision to seek help from a doctor about these issues. This could also prevent attempting to reverse the effects via education on healthy eating and physical activity. This could be due to embarrassment and shame, therefore potentially leading these people to consume more unhealthy foods in response to stigmatizing encounters because of low self-esteem and even depressive symptoms. The stigma around obesity needs to be significantly reduced. Viewing this as a method of motivation is only likely to increase the already existent bias rather than to help the refugees who are obese or overweight to actually lose the weight. A way to constructively reduce this stigma is to educate all people that there are pre-existing biological, genetic, and often uncontrollable reasons for the onset of obesity. The focus being on all people. If all people are aware that it is not always a choice, the shame and embarrassment associated with obesity would be significantly reduced. To reduce the weight-related bullying effects in primary school, all school children's size acceptance methods should be used. This will instill in the mind of the younger generation that everyone is different and size does not change an individual, and this therefore should not associate them with a bias. Stigma can influence participation in interventions and programs dedicated to reduce obesity. An example of this is in the study conducted by Barnes, Harrison, and Hennigan in 2004. They found that refugees that were asked about their alcohol consumption underreported due to the stigma of alcohol abuse, in fear that they would come across as alcoholics. Then they gave their dishonest answers. In a stage of possible denial or just pure embarrassment, false information can be given because of the judgment and shame that might be felt. Another example may be, if asked by a doctor of their eating and physical activity habits, untrue information can be given, which can reduce the probability of these refugees who are obese to be informed or given preventative advice and management programs available to them in order to reduce their weight to a healthy range, or even to prevent becoming overweight or obese. One is less likely to be involved in a program where they are stigmatized or made to feel insecure about themselves, or even to enroll their kids into a program where they are labeled something negative. This is the end of my presentation. Here is the reference list. Are there any questions or comments?